We'll zoom in a little bit tighter here as you can see that that inflow notch that I mentioned before, that area where some air is trying to work its way in from the leading edge of the storm and potentially causing a little bit of a spin up in the rotation. Looks to be now moving to the east of Munger. It doesn't look terribly coiled up. If it looked extremely coiled up, that would in all likelihood be a pretty strong tornado. But again, that possibility is still there. I do have a new statement here that just came in from the National Weather Service. Just kind of rehashing the point here. They are continuing this tornado warning in southeastern Bay and northwestern Tuscola counties until 7:30 p.m. This latest update as of 7:01 p.m. The storm still, again, capable of producing a tornado. Still no ground confirmation of anything like this, but capable of producing a tornado was located near Munger, which we can see there on our First Warn 5 pinpoint Doppler radar. It is currently still moving east at about 30 miles per hour. It's about 7 miles to the north of Reese. And the storm still estimated to be in Quanticosi by about 7:05. So this thing pretty much knocking on your door as we speak. Get to shelter if you have not already done so in that area. Also in Akron and Fairgrove, still estimated to be in your vicinity by about 7:20 p.m. So, you know, time now to get to your place of safety. And again, you know, just to go over some of the safety tips here. You know, we'll tell you what. Let's. For some of those safety tips, why don't we send it over to David? He'll run you through some of those.
Yeah, Brian, first off, we want to share with people the difference between a watch and a warning and let them know why we are breaking into programming right now. If you are issued a tornado watch, the conditions are right for severe thunderstorms or tornadoes in the area. It's usually favorable conditions that cover large areas. We're going to monitor the weather closely, and it may lead to a warning. Now, for those of you who are dealing with the tornado warning right now, that means you are in imminent danger. You need to take shelter immediately. Now, this covers a very small, fairly small area, as Brian is pinpointing for all of you at home if you are in imminent danger for this tornado warning. And of course, here are some of those tornado safety tips. Now, again, obviously we're not dealing with nightfall right now, but they are difficult to spot at night if there is a tornado in your area. And there may only be briefly, you know, flashes of lightning or power lines that are snapping, but if you are in this tornado warning, you do need to take shelter immediately. Indoors, preferably in a basement or a first floor room or a hallway. Avoid any windows. Seek any additional protection by getting underneath large or solid pieces of furniture. And of course, avoid any vehicles, any mobile homes if you can help it. And of course, you know, these do not provide any protection from tornadoes. So right now, those are some of the tornado safety tips that are some of the reasons of why we issue a watch and a warning. We're going to send it right back over here to Chief Meteorologist Brian Bachman, who can get you up to date on this. Brian.
All right, David, thank you. Definitely some good safety information to keep in mind there. Always the best course of action in your home. Of course, get to that lowest level interior room. If that's a basement, great. If not, lowest level of the house. And as basically the best way to put it, you want to try to put as many walls between you and the outside, you and the possible tornado, as possible to try to mitigate any of that flying debris. But let's get you back over to your First Warn 5 pinpoint Doppler radar here tonight. Still zoomed in on this storm. Looks like the worst of it has now pressed eastward out of the Munger area, but I'm going to highlight a little area here on here for you just to kind of give you an idea of where this suspected tornado in all likelihood is. I'll kind of draw a yellow circle here around what we call, again, that inflow notch, which is where we have some air that looks like it's at least trying to work its way toward the interior of this storm. And there's a new update scan for you. And I have to be honest with you, that is a little bit unsettling to see how much of a hook we have that's very well pronounced there. Let me try to clear this circle out of here, and we'll take a tighter shot of exactly where this is. But you can see a very well-pronounced hook there. So if there is not a tornado on the ground, at the very least, according to this radar indication here, this is in all likelihood a storm that is rotating rather significantly. And regardless of a tornado being on the ground or not, you are dealing with some extremely strong winds that can do a tremendous amount of damage in that particular portion of the storm. And again, I'll try to put the highlighter tool on here for you, and to kind of show you again where that, in all likelihood, that most dangerous part of the storm is, right within that yellow circle, again, indicating that there is some air trying to work its way into that storm and producing that potential rotation. So getting back to areas in the path of this storm, as you can see, Guilford, you would likely be next as where this storm will be headed. It's more or less, the storm itself as a whole is generally moving east, but it appears, though, and it's not uncommon in situations like this, the potential tornado that's embedded within the storm tends to move more in an east-southeast northeasterly direction. So if you just kind of draw a generic arrow on there, that kind of puts Guilford right in the path of this. So now is the time to get to shelter in the Guilford area, get to that lowest level of a sturdy structure if at all possible. If that is a mobile home, you heard David allude to the fact, statistically, believe it or not, you are more safe, or you are in a safer position outside of a mobile home, even if you can just find a low-lying ditch, than in the mobile home itself, as tornado winds, or really winds of any kind that are very, very strong, can easily pick up and toss a mobile home like that. So just to emphasize again here, can't say it enough, this storm obviously looks to be producing some significant rotation approaching you in the Guilford area. Also get ready in Fairgrove and Akron, still estimated to be in your area by about 7:20. So you're looking about another 10 minutes. There's another update scan there for you. Very well pronounced inflow notch here. Guilford, can't stress this enough, folks, in and around that area. You want to get to shelter right now as that storm is continuing to move south and eastward. Let's jump away from the radar briefly here. We'll head over to our Midland camera at Dow Diamond, where this storm had moved through earlier, and it appears that after a little bit of a rain delay, it looks like at least some players trying to get back out on the field there. But this storm that ultimately had moved through there in the first place, looks like things starting to wind down a little bit in the Midland area as all of this certainly dangerous thunderstorm activity continues to press its way eastward. Let's jump back to our first 1-5 pinpoint Doppler radar, and again just showing you very well pronounced hook echo, which is usually the classic sign that at the very least the storm is rotating significantly, but in all likelihood, at least based on what I'm seeing here, kind of how this storm is evolving, this thing is really trying to tighten up a more significant rotation there, and we can see that that is continuing to move its way south and eastward toward Guilford. This will be in your area likely within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So time to get to shelter now. Can't stress that enough. And then again, just to reiterate what I was saying before, in terms of storms still in the future path of this event, you can see Fairgrove and Akron. It looks like you'll be more in the heavy precipitation part of this storm, but that doesn't mean you should take it any less seriously. This will be in your neck of the woods within about the next 10 minutes, still estimated to be there by about 7:20 p.m. and then ultimately moving toward the Rochestersville. And this, in all likelihood, if that rotation really doesn't seem to kind of abate a little bit on the next couple of scans here, and as we approach the 7:30 time frame here, in all likelihood, this warning could be extended farther east and for a larger time frame. So even though you're not in the warning yet, folks around Caro, Colwood, you'll likely want to be getting to shelter, as well as at the very least this storm will be moving through your area. This could also potentially impact, if it holds together well enough, the DeFord areas, the Wilmette area, Kingston, and maybe even just clipping the northern side of Vassar. So really, if you are anywhere in Tuscola County in the warned box or not, certainly a storm that you want to pay close attention to here, and at least get to a place of safety and try to ride it out until this storm kind of comes to a close here. Got a new statement here coming in off of my printer. Let's see what the National Weather Service has to say on this storm. We'll jump you back to the radar here for just a moment while I pull this statement out. And we have the tornado. Okay, the tornado warning for the portion of southeastern Bay County, that is canceled, as the worst part of this storm, or the most likely tornadic part of the storm, has moved out of that area. You're going to still be dealing with some lingering rain and a couple of heavy downpours for the next few minutes. But the tornado warning for Tuscola County, which you can see there on your first 1-5 pinpoint Doppler radar, does remain in effect until 7:30 p.m. Still not any indication of whether or not this tornado has reached ground. No ground confirmation from spotters or anything like that. But still a very well-pronounced hook echo, as we can see there. I'll zoom in a little bit closer here on the storm once again on radar here. It looks like it's essentially right over the Guilford area right now, and you notice that very well-defined hook echo that's moving in there. I'll circle it again here for you just to kind of give you the best estimate of where I think this tornado would be if it is on the ground at all. Likely just to the north and west of Guilford, and it is moving directly toward your area. So please, please, please seek shelter immediately. You're basically out of time before this storm is right on top of you. Just to give you some of the new information with this particular statement, as of 7:09, this storm capable of, at least the portion of the storm that was capable of producing the tornado, located right in between Quanticacy, and Reese, still moving east at about 30 miles per hour. Again, still a mostly radar-indicated rotation there, and according to the latest scan here that you could see with the update there, it looks like maybe having a little bit of a restructuring process or having a hard time maintaining its form, to say the least. But, you know, still the danger there nonetheless, because you know, obviously you're still dealing with at least a little bit of an inflow notch there. A little more of the info on this statement here. Again, the impact, tornado or not, will be the possibility of some flying debris with this storm, and it still looks to be on pace for an arrival in the Fairgrove and Akron areas really within about the next 7 or 8 minutes by 7:20. So if you haven't taken shelter in those areas, please do so immediately. Getting another picture in, I believe. Let's try to jump over to that. This is from Frankenlust in Bay County. And you can see there certainly looks like a very dark and ominous sky moving past this viewer's neighborhood there. That may very well be the worst part of that storm as it did move through Frankenlust. But really, again, you know, just a storm that